Did Samsung do enough to justify the higher cost of the Galaxy S22 Ultra and the Tab S8 Ultra? I've had both since they were released and they're nice, like really nice. Now, for the most part, I expected that because they're the highest end models in each category. But Samsung tried to do some really interesting things to help separate these two products from their competitors and from other products within their own lineup. So the real question is, were they successful? Even without a single glance at a spec sheet, it's obvious that Ultra means bigger. We've got an 11-inch display on the Tab S8, 12.4 inches on the Plus, and then a massive 14.6-inch display on the Ultra. So that's a pretty significant jump. But it's not just enough to have a big display, it also has to be good. And this one happens to be great. It's a Super AMOLED display, the colors are vibrant, the blacks are deep, we've got support for HDR10+, which is becoming more and more important. It's a 120 Hz display, so we're getting smooth animations, scrolling, and it just has a very responsive feel to it when you're navigating around the home screen. Now, the Tab S8 display actually has the same features, but with a slightly lower resolution. So what you're paying for with the Ultra is the additional size and resolution. I've tested a lot of different tablets, and when I want a big and beautiful display to watch a movie on, this is definitely one of my favorites. When we look at the phones, the difference in size isn't quite as dramatic, but we're still moving from a 6.1-inch display on the S22 to a 6.6-inch display on the Plus, and then a 6.8-inch display on the Ultra. Now, all three are Infinity Dynamic AMOLED displays, but the Ultra has a Quad HD Plus resolution versus Full HD Plus on the two lower end models. It also has the highest pixel density at 500 pixels per inch, which will give you a sharper image when you're holding the phone relatively close to you. As far as how it looks, this display is stunningly nice. If you plan to watch content or to play games, the image is so crisp, it's really bright with 1750 nit peak brightness, and these are things that I notice every time I use this phone. Now, the last part is going to be a personal preference, but as far as the overall aesthetics of this phone, I think this is one of the cleanest designs and one of the most beautiful phones that I've ever used. Now, some people really love the rounded edges of the display and some people don't, so I guess it could go either way. Beyond watching content and then playing games, which I'll get to in a minute, another advantage of these larger and higher resolution displays is multitasking. Now, all three tablets have the same features, and the same is true for all three phones. So you're not getting additional functionality by upgrading to the Ultra version. But since you're getting more pixels to work with, you can more easily have 2 or sometimes 3 apps open at the same time, and you're less likely to feel cramped for space. Whether you're using the Tab S8 Ultra for work, or if you're a student and you need to take notes while having maybe a video playing and then a reference document, you'll absolutely love having the additional real estate to work with the Ultra model. And both also offer DeX, which reboots the device with more of a desktop-like user interface. You can connect an external display, a keyboard, and a mouse, and essentially have somewhat of a desktop or laptop replacement. Now, another component that I expect to shine in an Ultra device is the camera. So I'm a camera nerd and I have a ton of cameras that I can take with me, and the fact that I was even able to make this thumbnail shows that I might have a problem. But I still want the best camera system that I can get, and for me, that's more important in a phone than it is in a tablet, but still, let's take a look at both. So as far as tablets go, all three have the same rear-facing camera module, with a 13 megapixel wide camera and a 6 megapixel ultra wide. The image quality is actually quite good, but there's no benefit in going with the higher end model. The one advantage we get with the Ultra is that it also has two 12 megapixel front facing cameras, wide and ultra wide, versus the Tab S8 and the S8 Plus, which only have the ultra wide. Now, personally, I don't really see this as a major advantage, especially for how I use this tablet, but I'm curious to know if this is something that you find meaningful. Now, when we move to the phones, it's a whole different story, and there's much more of an intentional effort by Samsung to deliver on the promise of an Ultra. The main wide camera is 108 megapixels, up from 50 megapixels on the two lower end models. All three phones offer a 12 megapixel wide and then a 10 megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom, but then the Ultra comes back with a second 10 megapixel telephoto camera with 10x optical zoom. This is the best camera system you can get on any Samsung phone, and it's not just the hardware, it's also the software. Even if you're a casual user and you don't realize it, there's a combination of software and AI that's constantly working in the background to help you take better images and better videos. When you're using portrait mode, the phone helps you with edge detection to give you accurate separation from the background, and it also has to make the bokeh or the blurry background look natural. If you choose to use the 3x4 108 megapixel format, there's a new detail enhancer which uses post-processing to generate a more detailed final image. Another feature, object eraser, is just crazy. I can just highlight something that I don't want in my photo and then somehow it gets rid of it. Portrait video has also gotten a lot better, and just try to imagine the amount of processing power that it takes to perform all those necessary tasks in real time. It's pretty insane. And we also have director view, which lets you preview what all 4 cameras see at the same time. Then you can choose which one you want to use while switching between them in real time. And that includes the 40 megapixel front-facing camera. Now, for those of you who are interested in a more detailed look at the camera system, I'm working on a more in-depth review, but for now, let's continue and look at some accessories. The S22 Ultra having an integrated S Pen makes it the best of Samsung's current phones to have S Pen support, and that includes the Z Fold 3. And don't get me wrong, I love my Z Fold 3, and you can watch a comparison of these 2 videos when you're finished with this one. But with the Z Fold 3, the only way to have the S Pen with you is to buy a case, which is gonna run you about 50 bucks. Not to mention the fact that you actually have to purchase the S Pen separately. With the S22 Ultra, the S Pen is included with the cost of the phone, and it's stored in a dedicated silo, so it's always with you when you need it. Now, the Z Fold 3 does have a larger display, and the Fold edition of the S Pen is larger and it's more comfortable to hold, but for me, this is a situation where the S22 Ultra wins because it's less expensive, and I don't want to take a phone that's already thicker than a traditional phone and then add bulk to it with a case. When we look at tablets, all 3 of them come with an S Pen, and again, thank you to Samsung for including it with the cost of the tablet. The Tab S8 Plus and the Ultra are more responsive when you use the S Pen because of the lower latency, but beyond knowing that spec, it's not really something that I notice when I'm using the tablets. Now, all 3 tablets also have dedicated keyboard cases, and this is an area where, again, I give the Ultra the edge because the keyboard is larger, it's more comfortable to type on, and it has a larger trackpad, so the user experience with it is better than with the 2 smaller models. For biometric authentication, we don't see a lot of separation. So all 3 phones offer an under-display sensor and facial recognition. I like that Samsung offers both options so that each user can use whatever it is they want, and I love that they offer this at all 3 price points. Then when we look at the tablets, all 3 offer face recognition, and all 3 of them offer a fingerprint sensor, but with the Tab S8, it's integrated into the power button, and with the Plus and the Ultra, we're getting an under-display sensor. Now, I prefer this implementation. I think it's more natural to how I hold the tablet, and again, I appreciate that Samsung offers both options. When we look at processing power, again, we're not really seeing superior performance with either Ultra models because all 6 devices are powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip. And with the S22 Ultra, the 128GB model comes with 8 gigs of RAM, which is the same as the S22 and the S22 Plus. And once you move up to the 256GB of storage, then you're getting 12GB of RAM. Now, the Ultra is also the only model to offer 512 and 1TB options, which is especially important in this case since there's no micro SD card slot. Personally, I've always liked this feature. I know that you can use cloud storage, but it would be a great option for users who don't want a monthly fee. Now, all 3 tablets still have a micro SD card slot, so you can expand the internal storage by up to 1TB. And again, the Ultra offers the highest internal storage at 512GB. Now, battery life is another clear opportunity to differentiate with an Ultra device. And here things get a little bit sticky. So yes, the Tab S8 Ultra has the largest battery, but it also has to drive the largest and the highest resolution display. So I was surprised at how well it performed. And if you're interested in a battery drain test, I'll link to that video in just a moment. The S22 Ultra, again, has the highest capacity battery. It doesn't always outperform the mid-tier S22 Plus, but it does have a larger and higher resolution display, and the S Pen does take up some of the space, so I'm gonna give it a bit of a break. When it comes to gaming, both of the Ultra models have plenty of processing power to handle any game that I tried to play. But you know what? So do the lower end devices. It's true that you can get more RAM with the Ultra devices, but personally, I haven't noticed a significant difference with gaming performance. In terms of user experience, I love gaming on the S22 Ultra display. It's bigger, it's brighter, and everything seems to really pop. The only other Samsung phone that I might prefer is the Z Fold 3 because of the larger display. Now on the tablet side, the larger display on the Ultra is amazing to game on, and it's definitely the best option if you want to pair an Xbox controller and then stream some Xbox Game Pass games. At that point, you're essentially just using the tablet as a display, and then having a larger image is always better. The only thing to keep in mind is that if you play games like PUBG and you hold the tablet up because you're using the gyro, the larger tablet does start to get heavy, and also if you have smaller hands, you may find one of the other tablets to be easier to handle. When we look at tablet pricing, we see $200 jumps, but I'm surprised that there's no 5G version of the Ultra. So personally, I don't ever buy cellular models of tablets, but I know some people don't want to connect to public Wi-Fi for security reasons, and they don't want to tether off their phone, which is what I do. So I would expect this feature to at least be available in an Ultra device. For the most part, when you upgrade to the Tab S8 Ultra, what you're paying extra for is the display. If you want it for better productivity, a better experience when gaming or watching content, and with Samsung's improved long-term support, I think that it's worth $200. If you just want this type of display, then you can save some cash and grab a Tab S8 Plus. And by the way, I'm using the prices on the Samsung store, but you can usually find better prices by using the links in the description. With the phones, again, the price goes up by $200 with each model, and what you get with the Ultra is a larger and higher resolution display, the option for additional RAM and higher internal storage, the best camera system on any Samsung phone, and an integrated S Pen, which I think adds a ton of value and for me makes this upgrade worth it. Now you should see how the S22 Ultra compares with the Z Fold 3, or watch this battery drain test. Click on my face to subscribe. You know what I always say, buy it nice or buy it twice. Good luck and see you soon.